I don't know what we can talk about in this nation without talking about white superiority, honestly.
Who defines the meaning of God also defines the relationship between economy and God.
African Americans spent $1.3 trillion last year, making us the 16th wealthiest nation in the world. Why have we not turned those riches into wealth to develop our community?
Peace, family. Tonight is, I know I say it every single time, but I mean it every single time that I say it. This is going to be so exciting, sitting down and chatting with Nana Yarbrough. And the thing about this, like I just told her, is that one HAPI Talks is not going to do this woman justice. We literally have to bring her on a couple more times so we can really get to be reintroduced to her, because she's been around for a minute. But some of us need to be reintroduced to Nana Yarbrough. But before we get started, I want to first just welcome everybody, that's tuned in, and to remind everyone, okay, if you have not gotten your ticket, or not even ticket, I'm sorry, have not gotten your copy of the HAPI DVD, I need for you guys to get this, okay? This, documentary, this is HAPI Talks, but we also have a 2-hour and 12-minute documentary, okay, that is available at hapifilm.com, and you can go to our website. You can either download it, or you can purchase a DVD. And also, we have a bunch of other things that you can purchase on our online store. We have T-shirts, we have posters, we have the director Taki Grant's first 2 films, which is The Tekken and Nubia. So you can go into the website and you can do a bunch of things. The other thing we really need for you to do is to sign up for the newsletter, okay? It's very important that we stay connected, that the family stays connected. And one of the ways that we're doing here at HAPI Land is that we've created this newsletter, and we've had 16 editions thus far since we began this journey. And in each newsletter, it contains 5 articles. We always support a Black business in there. We also have a health article that's written by a couple out of Atlanta, Black Silt Yoga. They always do a really nice health article. We also have 2 young people that are helping us with creating some of these articles. We have a financial 101, and the gentleman that helps us, his name is Douglas Booth, and he works with Appeal Credit Union. So he, writes an article that's really good. And then we always have the young people write about the financial innovator, somebody who has laid the pathway, just like our guest, for us to be here today. And so that's also in there. And then we also have a HAPI update. So it's really important. And sometimes we have like special discounts on stuff that, we put in this newsletter. So please, you can go to hapifilm.com. You can not only sign up for the newsletter, you can purchase the DVD, which is super important so that you understand HAPI Talks. And you can also get other merchandise, and you can donate, because, when you're doing this type of work, donations help. It helps us to be able to reach more people. And it's really important for us, for you to understand that we, keep the money in the community. We keep it in the family as much as we possibly can, because that's the whole purpose of HAPI. So please make sure you are, signed up, sign up for the newsletter. I just want to give some quick shout outs to people. I see Alston Kurt is in the house, Rob Moses, Sharon, Amari. And also we have a youngster that always kind of tunes in, but sometimes not at this time, but she's a homeschooler, and she does her homework, and she's listening to HAPI Talks in the background. So peace out to Liberated Homeschooler. Anaya, thank you for listening. Super important. And so without further ado, I'm going to bring on this wonderful this wonderful lady. It's just, I tell you, Miss Nana Camille Yarbrough, she's not only an author, she's a writer, she's a poet, she's a singer, she's an actress. She has pretty much hit almost all the aspects of like any art you can think of. And so without further ado, this is Miss Nana Camille Yarbrough. Hey.
Hello.
Yeah, nice seeing you.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yes.
Thank you for creating this show.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, thank you so much for saying that. It's interesting because we were getting ready to hit the road with the movie pre-COVID, and then COVID happened and everything just shut down.com. And so we were sitting here thinking, Taki and ourselves and myself, thinking about how could we, kind of keep the momentum of HAPI going without, like we didn't want to lose that because people were waiting. We just had a premiere at Medgar Evers. And so we just decided, we'll just take people from the film and just talk to them every week. Yes. And then it kind of branched out to talking to, to everybody.
This is the time for image and story. They used to come to college, go to class and lectures, but now they could sit at home and become technically skilled and bring all those storytellers right into your house. And that's better in a way,
Yes. It is. And we can, you can always go to YouTube and watch it if you didn't watch it live, so that's always a good thing. Mm-hmm. And, let's go ahead and get started. We got so much to talk about, Nana. So we do, I tell you, listening to the backdrop as I was reviewing all these materials about you, I was listening to your CD. Okay, but we're going to come back to the CD. We're going to first just start at the beginning, okay? In terms of, you've had such a rich life, just filled with all types of experiences. Which art did you discover first in you?
Dance. We all come with gifts, and it takes time to discover really who we are. And I had a grandmother first who told me that I was an old head. And she scared me when she said that because I didn't know what it meant. It took me years of living to learn what that is, to be an old head. And I'll tell you later on. But then my father was from Alabama and a Bucktown, Blockton, Alabama. And he listened every Saturday, he'd listen to the radio program, the Wings Over Jordan Choir was on. And they sang spirituals. Well, I was maybe 4 years old playing on Saturday. And I heard this music and it stopped me. And I went into the dining room where Daddy was sitting with the radio. And I asked him, what kind of music is that, Daddy? And he said, that's our music. They call it spirituals. That's our music. And every Saturday I would go and listen with him. And I was 4, and that I was really drawn by that music. It took me some time to go to a dance class. I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago.
Okay.
And it was kind of rough then, not like it is today, but it was still very serious. And we as a people had been so turned against our ancestry or our being African to various degrees. So we wouldn't talk about being African. Somebody called you an African, you're ready to fight. They called you black, that was a little better. But then they call you the N-word, the nigger word. And I'm going to say it because I'll tell you about that another time, why. But I learned when I went to the park. I had a bicycle. I earned my bicycle. My family was lower middle class, so to speak, as they say, label people. The family could not afford bicycles, so I earned it. I sold subscriptions to the new newspaper that was coming together in Chicago. And one day I was on my bicycle riding through Washington Park, and I heard some sounds. And it stopped me, and I got off of I got off of the sidewalk and began riding around trying to find out where it was. And it was a field house in the park. And in that field house, I had a dance class. At that time, 1940s, early 40s, they called our dance, African dance in diaspora, they called it primitive, you see. So that's what they said, they're teaching primitive dance here. But those drums and the movement and the energy, and there was something about it that just said, you're home, girl. You don't have to look any further, you are home. And so I joined the class, and that started me in the arts. Later on, during the time growing up, we were not featured or presented in film in ways that were dignified or really had any sense of who we are, tradition, culture, background, ancestry, all of that. And I was not anxious to do that, but secretly I wanted to be on the stage. Not necessarily to be on the stage, but there's something I had to do. So my parents didn't want me to go into theater. They knew I had that tendency because I'm listening to music and carrying on. And my older sister, Titi, they told her no. So she didn't go into theater. But I think they were tired by the time they got to me. I was number 7 and 8. And I wanted to go on the stage. And then this performer, Josephine Baker, came to town. The Josephine Baker. I'd never heard of her. Most of us hadn't. But she came to Chicago, and she was glamorous, but she commanded the stage as I'd never seen an artist do. But in addition to that, she looked at the audience. America, you're not treating Black people right. You're not treating our people right. You're doing this, 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 and this. And I sat and looked, I said, what? That's what I want to talk about our people. That's what it was, coming from listening to that music and then watching my people in the neighborhood. That's what it was. I wanted to go on someplace, theater, where I could talk, where I could tell our story, because that story is endless. You can tell forever and become stronger every time you tell it and hear it. And so it was then that I was in high school. I was very introverted, very quiet. And I realized that I would have to train myself. So I said, I'm gonna take some public speaking classes, which I did. I started it there in high school, but continued studying, and then worked very, so I'm writing it now. So there are many, many stories I can't tell you here, other than to say that I worked very hard. I studied modern, then I studied a little ballet, but they put me out the class. So I didn't hear you. I couldn't hear you, whatever you said. You're muted.
Wait, they put you out of class?
I had no business being. I was not prepared. I was intending to improve myself if there was a kind of dance that I could do, that I wanted to be able to do it. But I came in I had a leotard, no tights, no shoes, because I was used to dancing in my primitive classes. And they looked at me and allowed me into the class, but the attitude was not right. Then somebody said something about monkey, and I said, oh, okay. So I did not go back, but I studied modern, which taught by a teacher who was a student of Graham and Sybil Shearer, all of them sort of offshoots of modern dance. Mm-hmm. So I studied very hard. And then one day an elder came to Chicago, who used to be with the Catherine Dunham company. Catherine Dunham was she did so much.
Yeah, she's a powerhouse.
She was a she loved our culture, and she started with dance, and then the whole culture that created the dance, why the dance was from. And she had a company. She had started a school in New York, which taught language, design, lighting, all aspects of theater. And this woman had been in her first company back in '34, the year I was born. Okay. And but she was teaching in Chicago. So she saw me and my partner dance, invited us to be a part of her concert. As a result of that, she called one day and said, Catherine Dunham is looking for dancers. Eartha Kitt's gone out of the company. Julie Belafonte's gone out of the company. A lot of the older ones are gone, and she's looking for dancers. So I said, all right, I'm ready. What was that? Wow. I heard something else. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing.
Amazing. No, it's just a little, people, you go by steps, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying a little bit. I'm not telling you the full story and all of that. That's in the book. But so I went to California, auditioned for her and was accepted. Traveled the world with that company. But I was with people who were pioneers, people who were creative, people who loved our people. And every time you went on the stage, you didn't see something from minstrel theater. You saw it from our culture, from the Caribbean, from Africa, from the South, in this country, jazz, all kinds of different dances she put together. And when we traveled the world, for example, we went to, wasn't so nice, went to Australia. Why am I talking about this? Wasn't there something else I'm supposed to be talking about?
No. Listen, look, I ain't gonna stop you. And I love, I was just asking you like about your first art, which you're answering, so dance caught you first.
Yeah, it was. But I really wanted to act because I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to tell our stories. Even in the dance class, the rhythms were marvelous, stimulating, the songs, the costumes, but I wanted to know about these people, these Black people. I was from South Side Chicago, understand? But these people were from Jamaica, they were from Martinique, they were from Brazil, they were from all over the world. And that's our people, that's our family. So that is what stimulated me and started me to write it, really. And then our family, South Side of Chicago, what had happened to my father being raised in the terrible South. And I'm writing about the damage because that's what I do in all of my books. I'm trying to heal, stop the damage that is racism has brought and whipped our people for centuries. And I'm saying everything I write, everything I say is going to have something to do with not exploiting, but bringing I was in the play, acting in the play To Be Young, Gifted, and Black, right? Lorraine Hansberry's work. And that was a perfect example of how to use your art to tell, she told of 3 generations there. And how the tradition is passed on. Our young people today, where do they get our tradition from? What has happened to our story? Television is now, there's some beautiful filmmakers out. Black people are marvelous. They're doing it. You know what I'm saying? They didn't let us in because they knew we were going to take over. You understand what I'm saying? Greatness is great. And so today I glory in seeing that. But I had to tell why my father was so angry. I had to tell why my neighborhood people were angry and frustrated. I didn't understand racism. I didn't understand bullies and their need to control everybody and everything. And then I didn't understand that so much of our story had been hidden and distorted. And I'm saying, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I first started, excuse me, when I was in To Be Young, Gifted. We did a tour. We went to 56 cities. After the show ended in New York, we did a tour. we went places, and I knew it. I knew our people were hungry for our story. And going to those cities, and this is in the 60s, 70s, 69, 70, 71. Going through those cities at that time, the audiences were packed. People came and they were fascinated by Lorraine Hansberry's story of the father, the mother, the son, the daughter, the next generation, where she brought in the African and all of that consciousness that she brought into the play. And one woman came after the show, because after the show, the cast would meet the audience. And one woman came to me. They were hugging us and laughing and talking about how they were affected by the play. One woman took my hand and she said, "Today, I feel like I am somebody." And she was about 60 years old. And I said, "She's 60. And she never felt as if she was somebody, you understand?" And that hurt me more. And that is what many of our people, they don't know who they are. That's why HAPI is the play, your show is so important, because it gives us feet, it gives us roots again, and shows the images, and have people there who have been there, who are writing about it. That's what we needed. And so there was a thing then about our hair. When I grew up, I remember when I came back to Chicago and I had a fro like yours. I had a fro. And my brother said, "God made a mistake when he made our hair." I said, are you, by that time I was so incensed. I was so into my African love that I had to talk him, I had to tell him about himself. But many people thought that same thing. You know that. And even in the church for a long time, you didn't go to the church with your hair natural. You certainly didn't wear cornrows. And so my first book was cornrows, because I said, we need to stop laughing at our hair. Yes, there you go, right there. It's sold out. It was in '59 when that book was published, and it stayed on the market until 2003. So it sold all that time, and we're trying to get it redone now. But we cannot laugh at ourselves the way they used to make us laugh at ourselves, the way they laughed at ourselves. But the thing is important, and I saw something today which reminded me of what we need to do more. Culture, for example, in Raising in the Sun, Benitha's boyfriend, his name was Assegai. Spear. He's a fighter. So his name meant, I'm a fighter and I'm a spear, and I'm going to use every weapon to succeed for our people. In cornrows, I had read in Nigeria in some places, when you braided your hair, you named it for an important event, for a deity, for someone who is heroic, for something that happened in the community again. That's how that's what you proverb. And so I said, that's culture, and that's what you pass down. And I hoped that when people began to really braid their hair, cornrow their hair, they would, how would you act if you named it after Harry Tubman?
You know what?
How would you wear, what kind of cornrows would you wear?
Yeah.
If you braided your hair and named it after one of our heroes or herus, I mean, male or female, what would you name it? And if you named it after someone who has done something in our community, how would you carry yourself? Would you be calling somebody a bitch or a hoe? No, you would not. Okay. So the braids, the cornrows had a purpose. The purpose was to reattach us to the culture, to lifting up the names of people or the events which were important in our lives. And so in the book, I say, name it Robeson, name it Malcolm, you can name it Dr. King, name it. And I went on, and even Aretha and different people, name it after those people. Why? And then ask the young person, why would you name it? Who is? Then they'd have to find out who that person is. You see, it's attaching. Dance was a similar way in the Ghanaian people. Their dances, and in all the people, all the different groups, their dances, which they talk with their hands, just like in some Asian countries they do too. And the what is the name of that dance? It used to be a Queen Mother's dance, but now many people do it. But some parts of it, seeing there carries over. What is this to us? Coming when you were a child, would anybody do that? Bop. What does it mean? What does it mean?
It was like a greeting. It was like a greeting. You know, it meant, you know, how you doing?
Okay.
You know, you all right?
Yeah, well, and in the name of the dance will come to me. You can do that simply. It's part of the dance, and it's stay together. It's together. We're unified, and we have power. Another one is this: good time and bad time. We are together. Stay together. Over and over. The hand goes under the top. Bop, bop, bop. Adwa is the name of the dance. The other one is da. One hand up like that. I am strong. You are strong. We are strong. Okay. There are lots of them. Oh, this. I'm bringing you to me. I'm bringing you to me. Now, if things are going well, I will embrace you. And you see that, I'll tell you in a minute, embrace you. But if you're doing that, if you dance with somebody and you start, and if you're dancing with a brother and he decides to go to somebody else and y'all are doing this, then you look at him and you dance and you go, you understand? It's in the dance, they talk to each other a lot. What other part? There's something else now that ran right out of my head. But
you know,
the dance spoke what you were feeling, and it was more than, oh baby, I love you. You understand? It had to do with life. It's like the blues was part. People talk about our music as if it's something that just happened here. We brought traditions with us. We brought styles. We brought content with us. We brought forms with us. And so that's what's our tradition when we mourn. That's old tradition. You see those women in church, some of them, that's what they do only at home. But here we were reduced to just talking about not love, but sex. You know, that's what we're talking about. I mean, some of it is good. Yeah. Me and Mr. Jones, whatever that song was that brought from.
Mrs. Jones. Yes. Well, you know what? It's interesting that you're bringing this up because, I mean, oh man, you just opened the door to a lot of questions here. So when you're talking, let's just go back for a minute when you're talking about the beauty and the cornrows. So I don't know, family, if you guys have this book or not. This is Black Antiquity. I'm sorry, Black Women in Antiquity. And this is like a collection of a lot of scholars' essays. Okay. And it's interesting because it's like it's just you and another scholar that's in one chapter. And the chapter is or part is entitled The Black Woman in Ancient Art. And it's you, and then it's Dr. Rosalind Jeffries. Yes. But everybody, this is like the who's who of eldership. You have Dr. Runoko Rashidi is in here, John Henry Clark, everybody. If you guys don't have this book, you need to get this book right here. Okay. But but in here, you're the title of your essay is called Female Style and Beauty in Ancient Africa, a photo essay. And so when you are looking now at the women and men, Black men and women, and what they're doing with beauty. What do you think about that? What do you think about like our standards of beauty, or what we consider standards of beauty now?
First, we have to. It goes back fundamentally to the bottom line. Is that we are, and I'm saying people might not like we could not have lived through the enslavement that we lived through and not have suffered damage of self-esteem, of understanding, of respect. And it's deep. It is deep. That danger, that damage is deep. And so it took us a long time to really be able to accept our hair, which was laughed at, ridiculed, hidden, cut off for years, for centuries. And so sometimes now I look and I see desperation in our women. For example, we've always been graced with behinds, most of us. That was natural in my family, all of my sisters. We had behinds and we had the bosoms and all of that. But that was a different kind of respect that went on. But other people did not have that. And they wanted that. I saw Cicely Tyson on The Tonight Show interviewed by, who was it? A brother who sat in for doing the interviews on The Tonight Show. And she had braids. And then one of the other guests was a white woman. And after Cicely, the other woman was interviewed, and she looked at Cicely and said, "That's the only thing that you have that we don't have," talking about her hair and her braids. And Cicely, she got through that in a gracious way. But that kind of feeling about Black people is that a hate-love kind of thing goes on. They like our color, they don't like our color. They want to be color, they get tanned on all kinds of stuff, and yet they don't like our color. They like our derrieres, and they don't have it. So it was decided two things. One, they're going to emphasize hair. Hair very important because they think they have hair over us. I mean, the system of racism. They're going to emphasize behinds. They don't have them, so they're going to work to get them, to make them. All right. So look at what has happened. Our sisters, because they came up being forgotten and laughed at and put to the side, and many of us pushed forward, but we were always second. We, seeing that white women were getting more derrieres, thought that we needed to get them too. And we didn't need to get them. We have them already. We did not have to put stuff in our behinds to make them larger and get sick. It's like we're distorting ourselves. Why? And it all goes back to what happened to us before, that we were so hurt, so made to degrade it, to feel that our bodies were not beautiful. And so now it's an exaggeration. We have to have the distortion. We don't think it's a distortion, but it feeds our ego more. We have to have the long hair because look, I mean, everybody, look at all the women on television, got the long. Now some sisters coming out and they're doing it and they're doing all kinds of hairstyles, because we're brilliant. Once we started, we can't stop. We just do it.
I like that. But once we get started, we can't stop.
No, and it always ends up with something magnificent. There's a period of, kind of strangeness going on, but it comes up. But we have to, I think, continue to work. There's an exercise in acting where you don't move, you say the lines. You just stand and you say the lines of the play, and you don't move, you don't do an expression, you just say them in rote. But there's a thing about being still for a while and listening to what is inside of you and let that speak for you. And I think not a lot of people are going through mantras and meditation and all of that. That's good. But there are ways to do it from an African point of view also. There were times in Africa where no drums were played. It was a time for thinking. There was times in their society when they played only the kalimba. I think it's got many different names for it. Soft music, not the drama of drumming. We have lost a lot of those traditions. And I'm saying all that to say that what we see of ourselves as beautiful now is not based on spirit. It's based on money. It's based on how much makeup, how can makeup on my face, how much uh, uh, long hair, not just hair, but it goes to the extreme. Um, we have to go learn how to just be with ourselves again. As they say, just get naked. I don't mean with no clothes on, but still, and learn our culture. Learn that everything. I saw some African young people dancing, and they were having a good time, but they were imitating our people here. When Africa did the move their behinds, move their the derriere, if you want to call it that, uh, in dance, it was telling specific stories at specific times and places. But now it's all about sex. Yes, it is about sex, but it's not the crude kind. It's we. I don't want to talk about this anymore because I have to write it. When I write it, I make it deeper and I put it in its place because it's so uh, dangerous. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings by telling them, you're doing this and it's wrong. That's not what I'm about. I think that that's why I like to do research and then bring the story and let them see it. And then when people, that's why theater is so important. Because when the
Yeah.
story is beautiful and you're on that stage, people say, oh, that's me. But they're afraid to say that's me. You understand? There was
Oh,
something, yes,
yes.
dear.
Yeah, no, I'm just agreeing with you. You're so right. That's one of the things when I was listening to your CD, and there's like one song, we're gonna talk about it later, where I heard
Okay.
it, I was like, yes, it was just your CD just really felt like a love letter to us.
Yep.
You touched on every single emotion that Black people needed and still need to hear and feel. But we're gonna come back to that. But
Okay.
you bring up a good point about your art, and you don't want to hurt anyone. When
No.
you set out to do, like to create something, are you creating it from like, do you set an intention first and then you do it, or do you just do something and see what it becomes?
I identify damage. It's the damage
Mm.
that hurts, the pain. And sometimes you don't even know why you're mad or why you go off. Um, so when I see it, as I experienced it as a young girl, and then throughout my life, for example, Little Sally, the super sex star, um, I've been in those positions. And all they want you to do is smile. And I mean, in this industry, well, they want you to put you in situations which are degrading, but you're supposed to smile, baby. That's what you're here for. Uh, and there's multiples of that. And I've seen women just being torn apart, men giving up their manliness. When I say manliness, I mean their position as protectors, and they become sellers of instead of protecting. Um, so I don't want to say, and somebody said, "Oh, you doing this wrong? Oh, you do." No, I want to set up a scene in which they see it. For example, August Wilson's Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Did you see it at all?
Yes.
You saw it. Now I'm gonna mess up some of the names in it, but the brother who recently passed, the great fine
Chadwick
actor,
Boseman.
who
Yeah. Chadwick
that
Boseman.
yes, that the character he played. If you remember, they were teasing him, telling him he didn't know how to handle white people, and he went off and he told them a story about how his mother, when he was a little boy, his mother had been raped by this group of white men, and he tried to cut them, and they got him. He showed his chest where the mark was, and he said when his father found out, his father was cool. He sold their land. He moved the rest of the family away, and then he took his time and he went back to that community and he killed 4 of the men who had hurt his mother. And he said, see, I know how. I had that example. I know how to handle white people. I know how to handle the white man. Well, he had been trying to sell his music. Remember, and the white guy who was recording them in the studio told him, bring your music to me. I like that music. You know, it gets the crowd up. And so Bozeman, the character, had this music with him. And he gave it to, because they had finished their recording. And he went to this white guy who was producing and said, what about my music? You know, I have musicians. I wrote some more music. And he said, the white guy told him, I don't need your music. It's not right. It's not what our people want now. And he said, I'll give you $5 for the music. He said, no, you said you were going to record my music. No, I'll give you $5. He dismissed Bozeman, who came back into the room where he had been rehearsing with the other musicians, got into, agonized, started an argument with one of the black musicians and killed him. He did not kill the white man who had heard him, who had stolen his music. He killed us. And for years we have been doing that. Yes. We have been hurting ourselves instead of hurting. And August Wilson put that play together so beautifully.
Yeah.
And there are things we have to see that we're doing, and we have to talk about it. There's going to be some tears, going to be some shouts, but we have to have a time of really remembering and stop trying to avoid what happened to us. Don't just, we're past that. No, you're not past it, because horror, damage happens to you, and you have to heal that damage and release that damage in order to heal and become. So I wrote Shimmershine Queens because the young girls saw in school, they were being damaged and they saw it, and the mother and the teacher helped them through what? Through arts, through poetry, because the arts have saved us. Suppose there were no artists, no singers who created the spirituals. Suppose when we went to church, they told us not to sing no African songs up in here. So suppose that creative thing was not allowed to happen. Where would we be? Over the years, our great singers have helped us live through stuff. And suppose they were not there. The great creator gave us artists to help us live, to maintain, to survive all of the hurts and the fears. Same thing with Tamika and the Wisdom Rings, the other book. So anyhow, I'm talking a lot. I don't know what yes, Tamika, you saw the books, you heard some of the songs, but basically what I do is try to identify in my work a problem, but I want to bring it in such a way that it doesn't put anybody down, but exposes the possibility of living better.
Yes. Okay, well, we're gonna let these sirens go by. This is Harlem. Harlem in the summer. While we're taking a little break, guys, if you please like this video and share it. It's very important. Nana Yarbrough, she's breaking down art and the importance of art in our community. It's always been there, and it's a prevalent way that we're able to start the healing process. So please like this video, share this video, and our YouTubers that are on YouTube right now, please make sure you're subscribed to us. We are so close to hitting 20,000 subscribers, and this is like every day is like one person, two people. But if everyone that's looking at this right now actually just goes on to YouTube and hits the subscribe button, and make sure you hit the notifications. That way, every time we have a new video, it comes up, and you're not going to miss anything. So please make sure you do that. And there's all types of ways. If you can use the super chat. If you want to use Cash App, any of those mechanisms are are excellent in sending some happy love our way. So, so Nana Yarbrough, when you're talking, about, that you don't want to hurt hurt anyone, that's beautiful. And I think sometimes, when people are creating things, I don't know if that's necessarily their intention, but in all of your work, that's been that's been, what you've been trying to do is to really help us and to heal us and to show us different aspects of ourselves. So when you initially started dancing, but you really want to act, when did you start writing the books? Like, when did that come around?
The writing when I was trying to survive some household drama, I would retreat to the bathroom with my little composition book, and I would just write. I doubt if I could understand it if I saw that book today, but the energy was coming out, the need to survive was coming out. So but really writing as I was touring with the Dunham company, there were sometimes we were on an airplane, and I said, I just wanted to write something down, a thought. And there were many experiences, but it wasn't until I came to New York to live, and it just started. The first thing, I was writing poetry then when I did, again, To Be Young, Gifted, and Black, I began to write, and I wrote a lot of what I sent you.
Yes.
Some of which the music, some of it right now, I'm glad I wrote it because it's paying the rent. But
let me tell you, your stuff is wonderful.
The people, my mother, very interesting people. Go back and look at your family. I'm finding people, great grandma Rebecca, who lived to be 115, who fought for our people during the time of enslavement. Afterwards, my father would accompany her when people would call her to come and speak to them. You know what they would say? He said 25 years after the end of the Civil War, our people, having survived the death camps that they put a lot of us in, having survived the lynching, our people wanted to be assured that we were free. When great grandma Rebecca, we went at their beck and call to go and speak with them, they wanted her to say something, one thing in particular. That particular thing was, we come through. That means we came through enslavement, and then they would say they're not coming for us because they didn't really believe that they were free yet. And so when she said that, then they would repeat it, and they would cry, and then they'd tell her about they're looking for their family, and they'll talk about the people who died. And it's all of that was healing. She was helping to heal them there and let them talk and release all of that anguish and pain. But the words they had to hear was, we come through. We're through with it. We're through with slavery. And that thing is, today it's hard for us to understand how important, how that felt. And that Lincoln wrote in the Emancipation Proclamation that it was out of necessity that they allowed Black men to come into the service, to fight for their freedom. The North was losing the war. And so Lincoln said, all right, Frederick Douglass, Harriet, everybody was telling him that we have to fight for our own freedom. And he pushed that off until they began to lose the war. And then he said, all right, Black men can come and fight. And over 200,000 of them were in the Army and the Navy and in every service. And yet they didn't believe that those people were not going to come and get them again. I think sometimes we think, and it's right, because they're still trying to get us again.
Yeah.
And not the same way,
Yeah.
but they're out there. So yeah, we come through, people, and we're gonna keep on coming through. It's and we have people in our family. My mother has another one who he was run out of Ohio because he was helping enslaved people get free. They took his bank account, they took his land, they took everything. But these are strong. We some strong behind people. You know that. You know that.
We're very strong.
You know that. Yes, and brilliant.
Yeah. Yes.
So I don't know if that answers the question you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But we are very strong, but we also need healing, and that's why
Yeah.
I can really appreciate everything that you've done, because sometimes I feel like that's also a way that people are trying to break us down by saying, "Oh, you're so strong, you're so strong." So we start thinking that we can't have any other feeling except for I have to be strong. But
No.
No one can stay strong forever.
Nobody. And that's what the blues used to talk about.
Yeah.
They talked about the pain, and maybe something about, I can't think of the blues song, but it was I got you today, but I'm gonna get somebody else tomorrow if you leave me. They don't give up. I love
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah.
but that was a difficult time for us to really stay together as a male and female, because everything was there to destroy that relationship. But somehow we survived. We kept it going.
Yeah. You know what? And
Go ahead, sweetheart. Go ahead.
yeah, you know what? I'm busting at the seams. Because we're just gonna just jump to the CD, because I don't know when. So you started writing books. When did you record? When did you record your CD?
It was a long play first, and it came out in 1975. The Iron
1975.
No, it was a long play first, a big one. And it came out in 1975. It was, at that time, now you see in movies now, you see soul or something, it's a big film out about our soul and our performers coming together in showing their brilliance. You haven't seen the film yet? There's a new film out.
Yeah, no, I have.
Soul in the Summer, something like that. There was so much
activity. Summer and Soul.
Yeah, it was. No, again, I got away from your question, but there was so much activity going on, and the artists were singing. Curtis Mayfield and those people from Philadelphia, those music.
Gladys Knight.
Yes, it was, and Aretha, of course, and Nina got some of my music, and she was going to do it, but trouble came, and she didn't. She did it on the stage, because I was there in Chicago and in New York, but she didn't record it. But I recorded it, and one of my songs, and it was called "Take Your Praise," and it was.
Oh my God, that's my favorite one. Okay, so that's what I was about to ask you about. That's my favorite song.
Good, especially listen to the last verse, especially. I ask you to. But I wrote it because at that time, a lot of our people were being disappeared and murdered and beaten, and our brothers, were just being. It was horrible to see, and I was with a brother at that time. It didn't really last the way I wanted it to, but I wanted to say to him and to all of our brothers, we've come a long, long way together. Also, that was integration was happening. And some of our brothers were finding it very easy to go with white women. And the sisters were saying, what? What about us? So the first line of that song is, we've been a long, long way together through the hard times and the good.
Yes, and you are rare.
I have to celebrate you, brother. I couldn't say brother man because it wouldn't sell. They wouldn't do it. So I just said, baby. I have to celebrate you, baby. I have to praise you like I should. You're so rare. You're so fine. I'm so glad you're mine. And then it went on for 5 other verses. And at the end, it said, I want the best for you, baby. And what you want, I want for you. And we can work together, baby, to make it all come true. You're so rare, you're so fine. I'm so glad you're mine. Now, unfortunately, I wanted a black singer to sing it, a male to sing, because I'm a female singing it to a man. That didn't happen. But this English man heard it, put some rhythm to it, and it became an international hit. But they didn't use all the lyrics. They just used, we've come a long, long way together through the hard times and the good. I have to celebrate you, baby. I have to praise you like I should. You're so rare, you're so fine. That's part that they repeated over and over. But I was happy because the spirit of praise you is what got over. All over the world, people are singing praise you. And if that's just a little opening in the hatred that's out here, I want that to happen. We have to praise each other. And we as a people, I think we've gotten away from it. We be talking about people's business. We be doing all this and that. No. First thing out of your mouth when you talk to somebody, you should say something nice to them. And eventually you will mean it. You have to make it work. Find something. Dr. Betty Shabazz said, find the goodness and praise it, I think. Those were her words. And that's what we have to do. Praise, that song, Praise You, was about that. And it was a key. The first song was But It Comes Out Mad. And that song ended with me asking why. Because I said I wanted people to find out why. See what I'm talking about in this song?
Yeah.
Work on it. Why? Ain't it a lonely feeling? It's a lonely feeling. It's another song. When you belong to a people and you get that feeling, that root thing working in you. And then you see people who don't want it. They don't want to belong to anything. And it's lonely because the things that they do are destructive usually. It's just lonely out here when you don't have a family.
That Family Forever song.
Yeah. That give Dr. Jeffrey some praise for that too. When I was in the dungeons in Ghana with all those people that he brought there, and I was part of it, and I'm in this dungeon, and we are family, and I'm so glad we are family. I want to shout. Don't you want to shout sometimes? I'm African. I'm black. I'm all those things. My head's kicking. Whatever. But I did this. My people did this. My people did. Everybody needs a family base. Even if they're out there orphans or whatever, find yourself somebody. Find yourself a family that's a positive, not the street, not the shooting kind of family that shoots.
We don't want the shooting kind of family. Yep.
There are better families than that.
When I was listening to this, and I was thinking, wow, like when you came out with this in 1975, that's when music. That's probably, we could argue that that was some good music, and I don't know if we've ever or will ever get back to that type of music.
True.
But
yes, we will.
How was this received? Because this is so militant. This is so like you are saying, I am black. I love you because you black. We've been through some stuff. We're going to make it. I believe in you. I know you believe in me. It's okay. Like you're saying everything that black people need to hear right now.
And I talked about, can I get a witness? And I talked to the sisters. What are we going to do, sisters? And I talked about the different problems that black women have because their men are in jail, or their man was shot, or the man don't like the way they look, and then the question is, can't you see the children watching? Another man gone by, I forgot my own lyrics, by war, by dope, twisted, destroyed, when he lost all hope. He was father, he was son, he was brother, he was lover, and he's gone. What are we going to do? What are we going? I asked the question. Don't just realize that this is happening. So therefore what? What are we going to do? Recognize that it hurts them. And you see the children. I was walking down the street yesterday, and in front of me was a man and a woman, and the woman had a baby carriage. The baby, who was about 2, was standing on the side watching them fight and argue. And I'm looking at that baby, and memories came back to me because I know about that kind of thing. But we have to stop. Somehow the churches do something, but they don't do it. They have too many rules to keep people out, stuff. But, and I know a lot of churches do good, but what's in the neighborhood? What's next door to your church? Those people. We have a lot more work to do. And so all the songs pointed to issues, and
but in a loving way. But in a loving way, Nana. This was it was, you wasn't just like, this, you said in such a loving way. I know I'm gonna keep going back to the Praise Me song, only because this is something that's happening right now where there's like us Black women, right? And Black men really need us right now. Okay.
Yes.
We need each other. And I'm gonna say, we need each other, but we, a lot of times, both sides are like, not saying it, that we need each other. And so when you listen to this is like, you ain't thinking about no size. You're saying, as a Black woman, look, I need you. You are rare. I appreciate you. And I was just like, damn, I was like, I wonder if all Black women just start saying this to their man. Like, what does that, like, I wonder, how does that feel to hear, women really praising men like this? And so when I heard this song, it made me feel a bunch of different emotions, like all good art does. But I was just like, but how, when you release this, like, what did people say? Or what was people thinking when they heard this?
Let me say this. Everything, so much of our lives are directed by politics. That came out when Nixon, I believe, came into office around that time. They had enough. They were sick and tired of the Black Panthers, and they accused them of all kinds of things and killed their leadership. The Nation of Islam was having problems. They decided that they'd had enough of us revolting, and they decided to do something about it. The radio stations did not play this record. They played, Dave Lampel was on WBAI in New York for a while. He was a station manager. He had one show and he would open it up with "But It Comes Out Man." But the radio, other programs, they just wouldn't play it because it was too direct. And they did not want that. They wanted to go back to boogie time. That's when, that other kind of music came in. What is it? Disco. Yeah, that was a little later, but it was around that same time that they didn't want that conscious music. They didn't want you talking about issues. Yeah, unconscious music, yes. It was butt music again. You understand?
Yeah, the butt music.
So they did not play it. And that hurt a great deal. When I did shows now, I used to do that on the stage, that whole album plus. And the response was great. I did many colleges, and even one which I think a lot of kids heard, because I was saying we had praise names before anybody else has praise names. Runoko Rashidi and Dr. Clark and Dr. Ben and all those people talked about the agent Kemetic people. But what they said, and I had a little thing when I was saying, love is a perception changer. We are perception changers, rearrangers, mind evolvers, and problem solvers. We are beast eaters, soul excreters, void filler, and bile spillers. We are thought warmers, plan formers, power orchestrators, and tongue translators. We are keeping on keepers, reaping on reapers, co-op stoppers, and cover droppers. And then it went on and on. But that's African tradition. Praise names, put them together, you got a song. But
And that's why they call you know what they called you the hip hop foremother.
a little bit. They make
Yeah.
about money. But no, I'm so pleased that the creator, that force, that energy, gave me the space to be what is called a creative artist, because I have ancestors who were with me and who have guided me and protected me. And sometimes I've gone off course and done some things when I should have changed and I didn't change. I don't mean give in to folk, but just had another path to make it successful. So anyhow, I stopped and I started writing when I did an article. First one was printed in the New York Times drama section. I told you, today I feel like I am somebody. That was my first published article. And then after that, I just began writing my poetry, writing a lot of things. And that's also thinking about the children and how they witness so much meanness and brutality. I'm happy now to see even on Facebook, families loving children and loving each other, Black people. That is so necessary. We need to see that, because a lot of some young children, they don't know about it. And we can't ask people to do things that they never saw. Young people.
Yeah.
They saw, I don't even want to say it, with what they see now on when you see music that does not come from something that is uplifting for the community, but simply comes from something which makes money. We were sold for money. You can do that, anything for money, but you have to heal from the heart. You have to heal from spirit. And a lot of what our young people say does not have that. And so their mouths are full of all kind of stuff and attitude. I went to see The Beloved, the film, and there's a part in there where Oprah's daughter, really, she represents, one of them represents a spirit that has come back. And Oprah, the character, having been enslaved and raped and everything else, was out of her head. And so the neighbors, her other daughter went to the neighbors to tell what was wrong with her mother. And they began to send food over, because she had spent all the money on things which were not valuable, but which were life. And so that mother thought that, it was based on the life of this woman who took her children out of enslavement. And when the slave people found them and were coming after them, she killed two of them. She killed two of her children rather than let them go back enslaved. So that's what that story was based on. So now the woman that Oprah played, she had lost everything. And she saw coming down the road this white guy who was come to help, but he was in a car, a buggy, whatever. And she thought that he was coming to get her children, to take them back into enslavement. And she comes out with this knife. Well, the community that found out that she was sick, the women, they were all women, they came down the road and they came in front of the house where she was standing. And they began to sing. And I'm in the theater. Sitting next to me are 3 or 4 young girls, young Black sisters. And they said, look, they just come to start trouble. And knowing that that's a tradition in Africa, that the voice, the spirit can heal through music, through the word, all of that, I looked at them, understanding they didn't know anything about that tradition. And I said, excuse me. And I explained that they were there because they know the power of sound and of song and of words. And they came there to heal, not to gossip and stuff. And then they just looked at me. And then they sat, and in the story, that sister who was a spirit disappeared. And so they saw that. And I hope they understood that everything is not coming to hurt you. Some things are there, And you have to understand the story of those things to know how to use them. And song has saved us for so long when it spoke to our hearts. And the song that speaks to our hearts most is the one that the slave man claimed as his own. He claimed it. It was Amazing Grace. What is it? What is that song? That I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was something, but now blind was now I can see. And they sing in the churches all the time. You know what that song is. Yeah. Well, the man who claimed it, excuse me for doing that, I'm just not crazy. You're a performer. He was a slaver. His father was a slaver, had slave ships going. And he wrote, and he said that there was this terrible storm, and the enslaved Africans were down in the belly of that ship, closed down there, where they couldn't get out, but they would sing because they were going through this storm and the water, they didn't know if they're going to die. But he heard them singing down there, and he remembered the melodies. He remembered the tone and all of that. After he quit being a slaver, he decided to be a minister. And then he took the form, the word patterns from another writer, put them together, and Amazing Grace was the song that he claimed to be his. Yes, thank you. The people put Amazing Grace there. Yes, thank you. Uru Sasa. Thank you.
I'm just agreeing with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's so much that has healed us. I know music has healed me, and I don't think we were set just on music. There's in the Little Tree. This is another book. One of my books. Little Tree Growing in the Shade. There's a proverb that's Proverb says, if a little tree grows in the shade of a tall tree, the little tree will die small. And so I use it in this book. Say, we didn't die small. We were that little tree. We were broken off of a branch of the big tree, the mother tree. And we use the skill, we use the wisdom of home. But there's something that what we brought with us when we came here. We were wealthy. Some people say, well, oh God, did I leave my glasses at home? Some nasty people said that the terrors of enslavement had erased our memory. But no, I got my glasses. But no, it did not. It did not. And so I wanted to say that, yes, it was reduced. They refused to allow us to sing certain things, a lot of things. They refused to allow us to dance our own dances because they were afraid. They said they were war dances. No, they weren't war dances, but the energy and the music and the style and all of that, they scared them. But there is, in this book, The Little Tree Growing in the Shade, I talk of what we brought with us, the art forms that we brought. And I wanted our young people to know that hip-hop's not new. I don't know where they got the name hip-hop, but the form of using words rhythmically to see the first brothers who did it, they were talking about social issues. They were talking about their relationship with the sisters. Okay, all of that. Now, where did it come up? Bitch and hoe. Where did that come from? That is not, that was imposed upon us. First, they put the words on the grapevine. Daddy whispered. Talk together, plan a trick, they said. Point the straight way with the crooked stick. Who said that? What's the writer who wrote that? Point the straight way with the crooked stick. That's what we had to do. We look like we're going the right way, but the stick is pointed. And the people who watch it, they don't know which way we're going because we're going here, but they think we're going there. The straight way with the crooked stick. Hide away a pitch torch light, then slip to the woods and swamp at night. Wet quilts and rags hum in a square. Keep the voice from traveling the air. When they did the laundry, when they hung the laundry up, they would hang it in such a way that it surrounded them and they can talk in there and they wouldn't be heard in the big house. They might even sing and do a little shuffle dance there. They had different ways of protecting themselves, but that's not quite where I wanted to go. Oh, this other one, they were talking about the daddy, the father is telling the child what happened to them. You are property, not people. The slave laws instructed them. You cannot keep your religions. No more festivals, rituals, or rites. No more African languages or dances. No more praying and singing through the night. No more families, no schools, no more playing of the drums. Only work from Kansi to camp, then eat and rest till first light comes. That was the law of the slave states. But there's something else, what they brought with them is what I wanted to read. Oh, the dirge. We brought the blues with us. We at home, I mean, they call it like the dirge. It was sad, talking about what has happened. We brought that with us. Over here, we slowed it down, gave it another little beat, and they called it the blues. Same tradition, recognizing the life struggle. That's what the blues talked about always. Let me see one last thing, and then I'll give it up. Oh, what did they sing? They just didn't talk. The people who brought here, they sang announcements. You know, they didn't have microphones and all of that stuff, so they didn't talk them. They sang on many places. Boastings, poems, calls, challenge songs. Now, when you go into hip hop, now they realize a little bit, so they say people are challenging one another. It's a different kind of challenge that went on. Courtship songs. Do we sing courtship songs to each other? We sing somebody else's courtships. It's not really a courtship song. We need that. And the Mighty Curse. We sang that too. They sang legends, laments, lullabies, libations, love songs. Who is writing lullabies for their children? We can get back to doing that. Write about our babies and include them and then pass that on. They sang recitations of law and speeches in the imperative, talking about what happened to the world. They sang fables, histories, and epic narratives. They sang oaths, prayers, proverbs, puns, riddles, rhymes, rhetoric, songs of ridicule, and ritual dramas, myths, monologues, magic formulae, marriage, and medicinal poetry. And of course, they sang songs praising mamas. They sang tales and tongue twister songs for teaching use, salutations, songs of satire, social comment, and songs for signifying abuse. Now, we have kept some of that, but our song vocabulary is very narrow. What are we talking about all the time? Listen to what we're singing about. Okay, we have to sing about more about it. But the industry says the young people buy most of the records, so we're going to have music just for young people. What about people my age? What about people who are going through change? Somebody criticized Alicia Keys. They said, she's not singing, she's not in no more. I said, she's a married woman now. She's got children. What is she supposed to be singing about? Some little stuff that you guys are shaking your booties to? No. She has something else to sing about now. But we came over here with a heart full, a memory full of traditional ways of keeping our communities together. And it was taken from.
Yeah, but you know what? I appreciate you having this conversation with those young girls. You know, when you were watching Beloved, because I think the piece where eldership and young folks, that it actually does exist. Number one, because people think that we're not, that we're separate. But more of that is what we need, so we know about some of these traditions. Because when I was reading in this book, the Black Women in Antiquity, you talked about like just where makeup started, from in ancient times, and how it was, and some of those things I was like, well, I didn't know that, because, and then you also talked about wigs. If you can share with everyone what you said about wigs. Because there's a lot of women now that wear wigs all the time, like, you
Yes,
know,
they
3
do.
wigs a day,
That's true.
you know, but I don't know if they understand like where, you know, the original, like why, you know, wigs were worn in the beginning, because that, it gives you a certain sense of pride now if you know where these things are coming from.
Coming from, yes. And they have wisdom with them. You don't have something without a story. And the story is usually something constructive, going back. That's why they had people, they call them griots, but that word was Wolof, but the European made it sound like griot, so we say griot. But voila, there's another way of saying it. Then there are different names for that function, those people who function as historians. And they knew, they had to know the culture at least 7 generations back. Oh, marriage too. You had to be careful who you married, because there were rules. In some places, you really had to know the families for 7 generations back, because you didn't want anybody who had problems. Who is that? You are a beautiful elder Fuller. Isn't that nice? Thank you. What, Tracy Brooks? Thank you. We have a lot, Tracy. It's just waiting for you. Just find it. What was I talking about now? I've forgotten all about it. But anyhow, we are very wealthy, and the culture is what has kept us alive. When we had nothing else, somebody would just start rocking and moaning and thinking about, you know, when Mama did this, or one of the stories I'm reading about from my father, because when I was in the play God's Trombones, James Weldon Johnson's work, and after on the stage, the spirit came and got me. Now, I don't fake that. That is, I'm no longer in control. And this was at the Ford's Theater in Washington, where Lincoln was shot. Big opening night. And here I am up there. I'm supposed to be singing, so glad I'm here, so glad I'm here. At the end of the show, we're going down to the apron. And I couldn't sing. I'm doing all other kind of stuff and looking at the audience. And I wanted to talk to the audience. I wasn't supposed to be doing that. So somehow I got off the stage with everybody, and I'm standing backstage, and members of the audience came there hugging and kissing. Oh, the show is great. The show is great. And then the producer came, and they hugged and kissed him. Then he looked at me and he said, "What was that? What were you doing? What? That's not in the play." And he was furious. Well, they stopped him. The people from the audience stopped him and said, "You're the only one who doesn't know what she's doing. Everybody else knows what she's doing. Leave her alone."
I know that's right.
They were church people, and they knew something of what was happening to me. But after that, I had to find out myself what was happening to me. And I went home and I called my mother and father. They were so happy that somebody wanted to know about them and that their daughter did. I have stacks of pages that my mother wrote, that my father wrote. He told me about great-grandma Rebecca, 115 years old, who did this. He told me about all the snakes down there where he lived. He said there were all kinds of colors. I never heard of snakes. And now you see snakes all kinds of colors. And he said some of them would roll up in a ball and try to chase you. And some of them, this is snake stuff right now. But the other stuff was family stuff. And they really cared about each other. And they showed it. It was rough sometimes with children, because children had to know how to be quiet, because they would be killed if they weren't, or their parents would be killed, because children, and they would let their children sometimes, white folks up in the big house, play with the little black people from the hut, whatever. And sometimes the black kids would tell what they did last night. We had some chicken last night. And then the white kids would go home and say, "So-and-so had chicken." And the master said, "Whose chicken was it?" "It was our chicken." And so when children played together, they had to be told, "Don't talk, don't say anything about what we do in our house." And many times when they're out, that's where knucklehead came from. You already know what knucklehead is?
Oh, you know, my father used to call me knucklehead all the time.
Yes. They don't want you to say anything. They don't want to smack you, but they will knuckle your head. So you know, stop. Don't do a thing.
Oh,
Be
okay.
still. You knucklehead. Even I heard Mrs. Obama call somebody a knucklehead. And it's, I mean, but kids, children, and I don't like calling our children kids either. They are children. When did we start calling our children kids? What is that all about? Kid is a goat, I think. Um, but anyhow, Mama wrote me about her family, and Daddy told me he was so happy to talk about his family. And he sent me pictures. I have pictures, tintype pictures. And that's in my book that I'm writing. His father was a coal miner in Blockton, Alabama. And sometimes he worked there with his father, and it was frightening. See, our children went through terror. And there's a book out about children going through terror, but my father, in this coal mine, they had these carts. They'd fill them up with coal, something, and the carts were on a track. And he was on one part of that track. And when this cart was coming to him full of coal, he'd have to push it, or else it would kill him. He would crush him. So here he is, 13, 14-year-old boy doing that. He also, his father also, as another job, worked for the big man, who had a road, what do they call it? Just a bar, like on the street in the country, roadhouse. And people would get in there. The brothers who worked in the coal mine would come work in the bar, come to get whiskey and get drunk and get women and give vent to their frustrations. And it was my father's job at that point to pick up the dead, put them on that cart, pick up the dying, put them on that cart, pick up, and they were screaming and hollering, pick up everybody who was wounded, take them in those days, like going through a forest at night, to this hospital, where they would not be admitted, but they'd be put down on the ground at the back of the hospital. This thing is got water on the tail. I don't want to electrocute myself. And he'd drag them out and put them on the ground in the back of the hospital, because there were no hospitals for Black people there at that time. And so the doctors there, if they felt like it, would come out and look at them and see if something could be done or not. But that was terrifying to my father. And then there was a rape that he went through. And my mother really pulled my coat. She said, "This is what happened to your father. And you sit here and wonder why he's angry." That's only part of it. In many of our lives, our elders have stories that gave them character, distorted, wounded them, and they're doing the best they can. They did the best they can to survive. A lot of us, he said, now great grandma Rebecca, she saw that my father's father sent him to Tuskegee. She said he has to do better. Send him to Tuskegee, which is what his father did. But his father had been so damaged that when they were on break and he came home, he told Daddy that you think you're smarter than me because you went to Tuskegee, right? And that's when Daddy had to leave home because of the brutality that came after that. But Grandma said, no, he has to do better. And that's why she encouraged, and his father finally sent his sisters to Atlanta, Georgia, and they had to go to school. One of them went to Clark. One of them, daughters of them, went to Clark. The other one, on his mother's side, she was mixed. She had some Irish in her, and they had sent her to school someplace. She was an elocutionist, they called her. She was an actress, but she was a teacher. And she taught in a place called Centerville, down there in the South. And see, I mean, those people living in hell, because down there they were lynching Black people right and left. But they didn't give up. They found ways, and with all their damage, they found ways to lift the next one up. And that's what we have to do. And when we see our young children out here who have been captured by a system which believes in death, believes in what is it, bullying, and get them before they get me, we can't allow that to happen anymore. Chicago, 2 weeks ago, there were 100 people shot over the weekend. My sister and my family live in Chicago. They don't go out. When I went there, when my brother was on his way to the ancestors, I noticed something driving through the streets. When I was a little girl, we would all meet in the front room. That was when guests came, they came to the front room. When we went to sit down and talk, Mama and my sisters, we sat in the front room. And the windows were there. There were curtains. You go to Chicago now, you ride through that south side, and you think nobody's living in these buildings because they don't come in the front room anymore. They get shot.
No.
So
Absolutely.
You see these just houses with no lights. And I'm saying, where are the people? They're in there. My nieces and them, they're in the back of their house. They own houses, but they're in the back.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of work to do to save ourselves from being victimized by the greedy ones who want us destroyed and want us to destroy ourselves. But it's a heavy job and it's going to be dangerous. But right now we are killing each other in our neighborhoods. Mostly young people being guided by older people who don't care. They just don't care. So we got work to do, girl.
Yes. And listen, it's I'm so happy you brought that up because it brings me, and I don't know if people, some of our viewers may not know this, but, with this HAPI movement, it didn't just start like during COVID. And one of the things that, my partner in crime, Taki Grant, he's not here, he's not here today on camera. But one of the things we were discussing, because I wasn't around during this time either, is that you guys' relationship in terms of how you have been instrumental in the same ways as Professor James Small has been, how Dr. Leonard and Rosalind Jeffries, Infudici, how they have been instrumental in creating what HAPI is today. So I want to just kind of take this time out, just thank you publicly, okay?
Well, thank you.
But you've been, I mean, you have been, helping this movement and informing it in so many ways. Taki told me about how you guys were on the radio together. You were in Egypt,
Yes,
doing all this stuff. And I have a picture. I want to show this picture because this is so interesting. This picture right here. I have been seeing this picture. I see this picture a lot. I see it at Dr. Jeffries' house. Saw it on Facebook. And Taki's like, oh, that's Nana. That's Nana right there. I was like, what? I was like, how did I not know this?
I have many images.
So tell us about this. When you went to Egypt, because you went like 2 times with Taki.
No, I went once with Taki. I went 2 or 3 times to Ghana and Senegal. Okay. And where else? Someplace else. But Egypt, I told you that things, emotional. The ancestors talk to me sometimes and they make me do things. Sometimes, I mean, they guide me. And when they manifest themselves in different ways. Sometimes I'm just out of control and doing things. And when I was on the plane coming to Egypt, and as I was getting off the plane, something. I was just feeling something. And when we arrived at the airport, because you walk down outside, then you walk to the airport. By the time I was there, I was just feeling not myself, not my usual self. And I just went someplace, and I just remember leaning against the wall, and something was happening to me. I didn't know what. But when I woke up, when I came to, I looked straight ahead, and there was this white woman standing there just staring at me. And I looked at her, and then she looked away and walked. But I don't know how long she had been standing there. A similar thing happened in East St. Louis when I was invited to come there by choreographer Catherine Dunham for a celebration of her library there. And that's when the drums and everything just had their way, just took over. And I was brought out of that situation and taken into the dressing room. And I was sitting there. And as I was coming back to myself, I looked ahead, and there was a white woman. She had come in the class, and she had come downstairs, and she too was standing there just watching me. And I'm saying, why are these people watching us like this? Why is it? What are they looking for that they cannot understand? And we all have, depending on our ancestors, what they did, we carry in us genetically energies that have brought us through, and they manifest themselves. Sometimes they get confused because of our condition. James Brown would have been a priest. He would have been, so would Patti LaBelle. So would Richard Pryor. So would other people who have a deep, deep, deep connection with life, but express it because they have been brought up here. Both of them had been brought up in brothels. So that's what their knowledge was, and that's how they treated people sometimes. But we have it in us, and we have to recognize it, give it the respect, and then let it use us, because it will save us. It has brought us through everything. Every one of us who has, one of our people who has come through and achieved something, it's always had that bottom spirit thing going for them. Sometimes they didn't manifest it very well, but it was there and it brought them through. So, yeah, Dr. Clark, who was he was such a brilliant and loving. He loved our people more than anybody. He was just so tremendous. But so many of our people were, and they have magnificent, so much energy. So we have to give thanks to them at all times while we're here.
Yes. Yes.
So that is why I write. They told me, stop. You're not going on the stage trying to look cute. No, I don't do that. I dress. I dress traditionally. I dress because if you have a physical person, you have to give respect to that physical person. And so you have to look as well as you can. But when I went into show business, that was it. I did not say, oh, I want to be a star. I said, oh, I want to tell a story. Our story. So that's a different focus. You understand?
Yeah.
And that's what I do. I tell our
Yes,
story.
and you do it well.
And I
You
talk
do it
about
well.
people too, like myself. Huh?
No, I said you do it well. You do it very
I
well.
want to do it as long as I can. That's the thing. I'm trying.
Yes, and you still are.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and you know,
It's
okay.
so. Mm-hmm.
So it's, you know, I was gonna add, I have two more questions for you, and it's so funny because I see Tracy Brooks is thinking the same way I'm thinking, because she's like, can you talk about the Ancestor house? Because I know you've been sitting here for a minute, you know, and like I said, this is just the beginning, okay? Because we have much more to talk about, but if you could just tell us about the Ancestor House, because in a lot of ways, you know, it feels like HAPI Talks is a continuation of your legacy with Ancestor House. But go ahead.
Yeah. Um, it came to me that that's what I should name what I do. So my stage presentation was called Ancestor House. My band was called Ancestor Band. The last album I produced was Ancestor House Band. We are Ancestor House. We are Ancestor House. And unless we carry them, the best of them with us, because there were some crazy ancestors too, you know. But uh, the spirit of them is what we carry. And when I opened the show, uh, it was called Tell It. And again, we must learn and tell our story. We must tell it for ourselves. No one else can learn and tell it for us. We must learn and tell it for ourselves. Don't hold back. Don't dilute it. Let it come out free and whole. No one can deny, demean, or refute it when we tell our story, soul to soul. That was the opening as a behind it. All the peoples of the world learn and tell their fast stories. Natural for humans to do. I don't know if just learn and tell their stories, but I suspect somehow, some way, even they do too. But all peoples of the world tell about their homeland, tell their children what their creator and ancestors have done, what they envisioned, what they inspired, the great battles they've fought, the great victories they won. Then the children understand who and what they are and what their possibilities. That's how they pass on their legacy. That's how I forgot the last, but that's how they pass on their legacies, by telling the story. And another proverb says, not to know your family story is bad, but not to tell it is worse. You understand? If you know your family story, but don't tell it, that's worse, because that means you're very sick. You really don't like yourself and you don't like your people. So you have to tell it. I've been knocked down by the ancestors on the floor. And they told me to do something and I didn't. And the next day I was on the floor screaming. It wasn't it was in a dance class. A Haitian girl understood what was happening to me, so she picked me up and took me in the back room. But I have to admire the Haitians. Once in Dunham, when I was with the Dunham company, we did a ballet called Shango, and it was a mixture of Haitian and Cuban culture, and then a little bit of New Orleans too, because it was a time when the Cuban people, enslaved people, were brought to America, and the government ended up in New Orleans and back and forth all the time. So in that ballet, there was a song called Nago. Nago was the deity. So it was Nago, Nago, Dinwe. Now, let me tell you, I sang that song in that company for years. But when we were brought, the new dancers were brought into the company was moving. I mean, we were dancing here, then moving here, doing the nightclub, doing the theater, doing all of those things, traveling across. And we never really were taught the meaning of each word. So we learned it phonetically. When that song came back to me in about 2002, now, I left the Dunham company in 81, 61, 60. Oh, I came to New York in 61. So it was around 59 that I left that company. But it was in 2002 that song came back. So it's for a reason. I'll tell you the reason. Nago, binwe kotem dimwe fo pa ye la jamposa. Nago, binwe kotem dimwe, binwe kotem bambu she fo pa ye la jamposa. Oh, nago, binwe kotem dimwe. Now, what did it mean? I didn't know. So I started following Haitian people around whenever I saw them, and I said, what does this mean? Most of them said, we don't know what that means. So they said maybe an elder would know. So there was an elder there at the Schomburg, And they brought me over to her. I went over to her, and I sang part of it for her, all of it. And she said, "We don't talk those words anymore. We don't say that." But she said, "I think it means this. The first part is, we are free. Uh, now going to be look at what we are. But don't make the mistake. Let me do three of them, then I'll say the line. We are free is one verse. Then goes to the second, we're moving. We're moving. It's like we're having a good time. Then the third verse was that, yes, we are free now. We can do what we want. We have a good time. And the line that ties it all together says, yes, you have come far, but never forget the price you paid to come this far. And that's what we were singing in that dance, Shango. And that's was music that came from the Haitian people, from the Cuban people, the mixture, and which happened in Congo Plaza, New York, New Orleans. But we have to remember those things that they went through and how they valued the fact that they had to work. Never forget the price we paid to come this far. That was the secret, the message of that song. And we have to not linger on the price, know the price, but keep on moving, keep on achieving, keep on growing, keep on loving, and also keep on calling on the higher power. And the higher power is here in us. It resides there. It's not floating around someplace. It's here. So that's, I learned so many lessons in that company. And it was really an education. I got my PhD right there in that company.
Yeah, listen, I'm just so happy. Yeah, I'm just so happy. Yeah, I am happy. I'm just so happy that you are sharing this with us. And as I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about the CD, I was like, you got to come back on and sing some songs for us. We got to get you on a sound stage where it sounds really good.
Let me just say this. Thank you for those words. It has not been easy, as many people can tell you, to try to uplift us, our people, to uplift that which is spirit. You pay a price, and I have paid the price. They didn't play that record, and there are things, jobs I could not get because they did not want me wearing African clothes. They want me in those songs. They want me to do what the other girls. That's what I said in those things. You have to do what the other girls do, and a lot of sisters, because they want money, want a fuller sense of being somebody, they go along with the get along. But I went, not last year, it's been about 2 years now. I had done shows and I was tired and I didn't recognize it. A brother who died, Onaji Gomes, great, brilliant musician, was receiving an honor, and I was one of the singers who was asked to come sing my song "Family Forever." He told me that his family was coming in town and they would be sitting in the front seat. So I went, and the show, what I did was what everybody did was successful. What I did was see, and afterwards I called the producers and asked, do you have a video? Because I needed that to say, when you get older, you do all things. You send a video. And they said, no, we didn't make it. I did not believe that. It was an important occasion. They would have made a video. I asked to make a tape. And they said, yeah, we have a tape. We asked the girl who was doing my computer, asked them to send us a tape. They sent us tape of the whole show. I came on number 8 and number 11. That was after the intermission. I brought it, opened it up, closed it. I was not on that tape. Everything was there but me. And I was so tired by that time and so hurt about falling into a depression. And I didn't know I was, but I did. And I'm still trying to get over it right now.
Well, you know,
when I do that, knowing that I learned a lesson that I should have changed before. But also, damn, I lost what I was going to say about it. I didn't. I continued and I did some other events, which I should not have done. I didn't listen to ancestors. They told me to wait. They told me to stop. And because I had worked so hard to make something of myself, that thing to keep going was strong. And when you see a lot of people up in age when they should stop, they should change, and they don't. Well, I didn't. I was doing things, and I was accepting behavior people that work for me, and I should not have because I was tired. And that's something we have to watch. Our people who are out here as artists, standing up, we have to really surround and support them in every way, because eventually they wear out. Some go into drugs, some go into alcohol, some just have stroke on out, girl. But I'm saying that I'm very happy, again, happy, that I survived that I'm on right now. That's why being here and talking with this on this station with this spirit is very important. I didn't know you before, but you're a very gracious and energetic and spirit person. That helps me. Gives me help. Gives me hope because you do everything you can, and then you hope that other people will come and keep it going. And as the enslaved people said to my great grandma, we have to always come through. Whatever problem is, we come through. We overcome. We come through that. It's past. It's over. So that's enough I'm going to say.
I can only, I recognize fully 125%, 150% that I can only be doing this because of you, because of, elders like you. If you were not gracious enough to, to follow your spirit and your heart and to, make your art for us to, to learn from and to grow from, then we wouldn't be here, And when I heard you talking about, this out, because when I heard it, I was just like, wow, this, like you release this, and what you're saying to me, thank you so much for just sharing this with our audience about your feelings around this. But, as I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, maybe that wasn't the time in 1975, but maybe, 2021 is the time for this to come, to come back out. Are you still selling this CD?
Oh, yes. I have CDs. I have some of my books, The Little Tree, Tamika and the Wisdom Rings. I didn't talk about Tamika and the Wisdom Rings.
Because let me tell you,
but they're all family books.
Yeah, this is and you know what, and and let me just
the Iron Pot.
Let me just.
What is the Iron Pot cooker? Let me tell you that. You're cutting out. You're not.
Okay. No. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Tell us about the Iron Pot cooker.
Oh, did you already tell me about that? Okay.
Well, no, I thought you know what? Maybe I'm hearing something because I was going to say that I know people. Let me apologize in the chat right now because people are like, "What's her contact information? What's her contact information?" I was like, "I'm going to give the contact information. I promise you guys, I am because she has been gracious enough to share her email with us so that you can, contact her. You can get this merchandise, because this is another way we pay homage to our elders, is by supporting them. And it's not, it's nice to say, oh, great job, but it's even nicer to buy a CD or to buy all these books, because you have spent your lifetime, and you are continuing to spend your lifetime in healing us. Like this is really, the least we could do is get, is purchase something from you.
I so appreciate it. When you do something, I didn't write this for it to sit on a bookcase someplace. I didn't write it for the songs just to stay in the cases. And I'm saying, no, this cannot happen. The work has a job to do. Those songs have work to do. And so people have to hear them, and the children have to read. The response from children reading Tamika and the Wisdom Rings, or Little Tree Growing in the Shade. So we don't have our stories heard. That's good. That's Sasa. Yes, thank you. It has work to do. It's like they're beautiful thoughts, brilliance in books, sitting on the shelf someplace. People should be reading them. And I didn't write these books for them just to sit on the shelf someplace, or the songs not to be heard.
Exactly.
I don't want to create another attitude. Little Tree Growing in the Shade. That's a family too. Tamika and the Wisdom Rooms, yes. My name is Tamika, and I'm the best. When you jump with me, you don't get no rest. When I'm up, I'm up. When I'm down, I'm down. Tamika is the girl that don't play around. Touch head and shoulders, baby. 1, 2, and 3. Touch head and shoulders, baby. 1, 2, and 3. Double Dutch.
See, we got to get you. You got to get back on the stage. You got to get back on the stage.
Did you jump double Dutch? Did you?
You know what? I do. I'm pretty good, actually.
All right.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a Detroit thing. I don't know, but yes. I said maybe it's a Detroit thing, but yes, I am definitely a double dutcher.
Queen.
Yeah.
In the book, they're called the block rockers.
Yes. Yes, this is great. Yeah. Well, I'm going to share with our audience your email address, and so that you guys, like Taki says all the time, we want to give our elders heartbeat props. Okay, and the way we give heartbeat props is by supporting, what they're doing, monetarily. And here you go. That's the email address. Yep. Nice. So you guys, wait, did I spell it? Oh, yep, it's your name. You must have got your name like right when Gmail started, because you got your full name.
They don't put full names anymore?
Well, if somebody else takes it, you have to sometimes put your name and put like a 1 or something after it, or a 2, something like that. Oh. So it's good that you grabbed your name quick.
Okay. Yes.
So yes. So you guys, you can contact Miss Yarbrough and get your DVD. That DVD is fire. I'm telling you, like, it is so right. It's like you made this music like last year. Like it's so right on time.
Mm-hmm.
Right here. Iron pot cooker.
Now I'll tell you about that. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes. No. Yep. You can tell us about the Oh wait, and then this is. I like this one. This is good.
And cornrows.
My cornrows.
Little Tree Growing in the Shade. Yeah.
I have one more.
I was tired of
laughing
it out.
Yes. No. Please tell us about the iron pot cooker.
Reading again, and came across information about healers, female healers, and they would travel, just like Great Grandma Rika was called to travel talk to the people. Though she brought some herbs and stuff too. But women who were healers, and they would bring their material. And these villages, not, I think maybe she may have brought some, one with her. It was the iron pot cooker, was doctor, was who brought the healing to the village. And many herbs were cooked, and it was a healing thing that she did. This person who came with the healing, and she used the iron pot so that people would blend the wisdom and the healing and get better. So I said, oh, that's what I do. I travel with the healing. I just don't carry an iron pot. But if you go in many of the, what are they called, Spanish places where they sell spiritual, you'll see it has spiritual and healing significance, use. And so it's what I consider myself as a person who is bringing medicine. And it has worked a lot. I mean, some of the responses that people have written me, not just critics, but people, people who see the show or something, or a little girl, I remember she goes to bed with her book. Yes, it's really very good. So anyhow, I'm happy. I'm happy what you're doing here is needed, and we'll have to talk later on about what ways I can be to what you're doing.
Yes, thank you.
Saving grace. It's a savior. It's medicine. And I am Facebook. If you can, I don't know where to reach you on Facebook. You just pop up. I'm scrolling. Oh, where are you on Facebook? I mean, where are you on the internet? Is there a
you know
HAPI
what
channel? Is that what it is? HAPI.
You know what? You actually it is let me put it a different way. We are actually at HAPI Film, and thank you for that lead in. We are at HAPI Film, and we're on we're on everything in HAPI Film. So we're on Instagram and on Facebook. You just put in HAPI Film and you'll find us. Or you can always put in Taki's name or my name, and we pop up as well.
They come up, okay.
And yeah, and everyone, if you could, please make sure you are following us on our social media. All of our channels. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. It's really important for you guys to subscribe so that we can bring, so we can get, like Nana Yarbrough's story to get it out to more people, because this information she shared with us tonight has changed all of us listening. And what we want to do at HAPI Talks is to help change, more people's lives. So by you guys subscribing to us and by sharing this video, you get her word out, and and it is continuing her legacy, and it's getting everything that you are working on in your life for us. So just thank you. Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Felice.
Okay, I'm gonna put you. Okay, I'm gonna put you backstage for a minute. I'm gonna close out the show, and then I'm gonna come talk to you. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody who saw and listened. As they let me say this one thing. When I was in Ghana at Derby, the big festival where the Asante Hene came, and the king, and they brought him on carrying him on the pelican thing, and he's sitting up there and he's looking at the people, and he did this to this side, brought his hand, and this hand in, and when he brought it in, he did, and it was not Makanda. You understand what I'm saying? Makanda had a lot of real tradition in it, and the king was saying, "You are my people on this side. You are my people on that side," and this was here. and this was here, and he made that cross. This, I don't want to call it a cross, but he put energy. It was love, and that's traditional. Somebody telling us we should leave.
Yes, it's traditional. Yes, I love that. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes. You're welcome. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. You know what? I tell you, every time this is like we get to the good part, it's like this internet is always doing something funky with us. But if you miss any of this video, you can hit us up on YouTube at HAPI Film, and make sure that you are following us on all the social media platforms. And like I said, we're trying to, get this information out, and we will not be stopped. And so we are enlisting everyone that is looking, at us right now to do their part. Just thank you guys so much for subscribing to us and to, checking this out and supporting Miss Yarbrough. Thank you very, very much. Until next time, as Professor James Small says, peace and blessings.
I don't know what we can talk about in this nation without talking about white superiority. Honestly,
Who defines the meaning of God also defines the relationship between economy and God.
African Americans spent $1.3 trillion last year, making us the 16th wealthiest nation in the world. Why have we not turned those riches into wealth to develop our community?